Today, let's look at a book I read recently. It's called Flowers for Algernon, and it actually pulled me out of a reading slump. And it gave me a huge depression. I never really knew much about this book, I just knew it was a classic, and one day I just decided it's time to read it. Also, I saw 5-star reviews everywhere, and commentaries looking like they were written by crying people who can't see the keyboard properly. And because of the good reviews, I decided to go into this book almost completely blind. And honestly, I think it was a great decision. If you ever had to trust an anime girl, it's now. And I'm telling you, turn off this video, go to buy this book, and read an absolute masterpiece, and be shattered to pieces as the rest of us. I think the best way to read this book is with zero spoilers. The only warning I give you is that it's depressive and it deals with heavy topics, so proceed with caution. But definitely proceed. It's a great book. So this book is a sci-fi novel and it talks about humanity, relationships, trauma, disability, dehumanization, but also kindness and forgiveness, and the whole story is happening in the present world. Well, okay, the book is from 60s, so yeah, the present days of 60s. But I mean, it's not happening on like a different planet or something. Actually, I would say this book is kind of a psychological novel dressed as a sci-fi. So yeah, go read this right now. Hush, hush. But alright, if you are still here, if you are not convinced yet, or if you just want more context, alright. Sure, let's talk more about this book. So Flowers for Algernon is originally a short sci-fi story from 1959 that won the Hugo Award. Later the author, Daniel Keyes, turned this story into a full novel in 1966, and that also won an award, the Nebula Award. The book has gained popularity and gained a lot of adaptation and now is considered a classic, and not just in the sci-fi genre. And now for the story. In this book we are reading the reports of a man called Charlie. The reports work practically as a chapters, so it's just a lot of reports that create the whole book. Charlie is an adult man, but he is mentally disabled, and because of that, scientists invited him to be part of an experiment where they would enhance his intelligence and increase his IQ. Charlie agrees, and he looks forward to this surgery as he believes that being smarter will also make him happier. Oh boy, I wish that were true, buddy. Since Charlie has an IQ of only 68, writing and reading are quite hard for him. The first reports are written with many grammar errors, bad spelling and no punctuation, so it looks kinda something like my scripts. But after the surgery, his intellect gradually starts to grow, and we can see it even through his writing, which starts to improve considerably. As for Charlie himself, he gradually does gain more intelligence, learns more about the world around himself, and he starts to see the reality around him more clearly. And because of that, he also finds out how people truly see him, and his relationship to people around him starts to change. But it's not just the relationships, he also starts remembering more, especially about his childhood. And because of that, he starts thinking about himself and about his own feelings more, and starts to wonder who he even is. Eventually his motivation of being happy changes more into a struggle to be seen as a human being and a real person, instead of just a disabled person or an experiment from a lab. Now Charlie is actually not the first patient of this experiment. The first patient was a mouse called Algernon, an average laboratory mouse that became super smart after the same surgery. And this book portrays the story of both. As you could hear, this is not an optimistic story, but it's one of those that stays with you. It's a story that laser focuses on its topic and explores it very truthfully. Also, the author himself, Daniel Keyes, was taking inspiration from his own life, partially from his personal background, as he had parents who pushed him into studying a lot, and also from working with disabled people as a teacher. In general, Daniel Keyes was thinking about writing this book for a long time before he actually decided to do it, and he really did his research before. So yeah, my review is that I really like this book. It's not without some flaws, I would say, but honestly in this case I feel like this book is something like research to certain topics and questions, like ethical use of experiments on humans, for example, or the whole topic of disabled people. And I think even if you as the reader don't agree necessarily with all the author's opinions, I don't think that makes the book bad. I think the questions and opinions in this book should perhaps start more discussion than criticism. But to be honest, I think a lot of the times the author is on point actually. Like, I'm not a person with disability and I don't have anyone like that around me, so I can't possibly be judge of his description. But it seems like the author really tried to do his best. And it seems that a lot of the time he is actually quite on point. Like, for example, later in the book there is also a topic of dementia and general problem of learning and the struggle when you or your loved ones are losing basic knowledge, memories, coordination, and that's something that will probably happen to everyone, or most of us will witness this to happening to people around us. Also, the book just describes the process of learning, for example, and that is relatable to anyone, I think, even if people normally don't change their IQ so drastically. Now, I really like this book, but there's this one part that I'm not so sure about, and I want to talk about it, but I will probably get into the spoiler territory a little bit, so spoiler alert. So this book also explores Charlie's love life, or not just that, but also realization of the fact that he can love someone, and it's also realization of his sexuality. Now, I was a bit worried here, not gonna lie, considering it's a book from 60s and also sci-fi, I wasn't sure about it. I feel like old sci-fi can be often quite insensitive in this topic, or simply too cliché, and in the worst case, just plain misogynistic. But here I feel like it was approached carefully, and more than some sort of a big love story happening, we got a story about his feelings, his confusion and trauma. Especially the trauma, because there is a lot of it. Poor guy. Also, I liked how it was pointed out how important it is for him to realize that if he wants to date a woman, he can't see her as a teacher, a mentor or goddess, but as an equal, as just another human being that is equal to him. So there is this part of the book where he is still in love with one woman, but sleeps with another, and it's just kinda weird. Like, he always says how he would never hurt anyone, and then he literally runs from one woman to another, and the first one is still waiting for him. What? I have to say I wasn't sure what to think about this part of the book, but later we get to see more clearly how his intellect also makes Charlie kinda more arrogant and, well, inconsiderate. So perhaps this just fits to his character later. The old Charlie would not hurt anyone. The genius Charlie might be quite inconsiderate in this case. I mean, I don't know, but this happens to me a lot with 20th century novels, that there is some weird, questionable relationship that I don't even really care about too much, but for some reason the author really does. And if I compare it to some other books from that century, I think this one still comes out really well. I mean, if anything, the woman in these books at least can speak. And I mean this literally, because there are books where the girls are just silent and the guy is with them just for the vibes, until he realizes he never really loved the girl. So yeah, how cute, right? Well, Charlie at least is not completely delusional, and even if I don't understand why this romance with the manic pixie girl was important to the plot, at least he is quite honest to people around him, and he actually communicates with his love interest, and I think that was actually really refreshing. I mean, he really was honest to his love interest, even if he not always treated her that well. Yeah, but she was also honest with him, and I think that was like really nice to see. I mean, it's true, the book pointed out that for some time they just weren't ready for each other. And the manic pixie girl in this book, I mean, hey, she was kind of fun, so why not, I guess. Yes, so that's the end of the spoilers. Now, I could be talking about this book for much longer. This is really a book that I could be talking for like an hour, but I don't want to give you more spoilers or anything. I'm just going to tell you it's a really good book, it's a really good story, and it's quite depressive, yeah, but I think it also talks about some important topics, like, for example, the humanity and how people just simply see each other, and it's not always in a good way. I mean, that's not surprising, but this book just looks at some topic and it makes a really good job at showing them to the average reader, let's say. So, whatever. So in conclusion, I'm giving this book 10 out of the 10 flowers for the two protagonists. Poor guys. And that's all from me today, and I'm probably going to have some shot of something strong to forget this depressive book. So see you next time. Bye!